All right, welcome to Unit 7. This is 7.2, which is exponent rules. And this is power to power, so that's an exponent to an exponent. And we're also going to deal with some negative exponents. So let's get started. So my example problem is on the right here. And we are going to be working this out. So step one is we're going to write out the parentheses using exponents. So we're going to look at the exponents, I should say. So this is to the fourth power. So you think about the base, what is being raised to the fourth power, and it's everything in parentheses. So the fourth power means instead of to the fourth power, we can do 2x to the third, y to the fifth, z squared. And we're going to do that 4 times. That's what to the fourth power means, 4 of them multiplied together. So there's 2, 3, and 1 more. All right, so that is 4 of those bases multiplied together. Now, we're going to, at this point, instead of exponents, we're going to follow what we did before, which is follow our, so we did this as 7.1. Follow multiplying like bases rules. So this is if you have like bases, you add exponents. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our coefficients. So our coefficients 2, 2, 2, and 2. You're going to multiply those all together. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that is 16. Then we're going to look at our next, let's see here, pink. So we have our x to the third, x to the third, x to the third, and x to the third. When you multiply those out, like bases with multiplication, you are going to add those exponents. So it's going to be x to the 6, 9, 12, x to the 12th. We're going to keep going with this. We have, let's go with y to the 5th, y to the 5th, y to the 5th, y to the 5th. So you have times y to the 5th, y to the 5th, y to the 5th, y to the 5th. You have multiplication of like bases, the y's. You're going to add those exponents. So it's going to be y to the 20th. And lastly, we have our z's. Oh, it's going to be too dark. So the z's, we have z squared, z squared, z squared, and z squared. So we multiply those out. Z squared, z squared, z squared, times z squared. You add your exponents with like bases. The like bases are z. So that's going to be 4, 6, 8. So it's, oh, no, not y. Z to the 8th. There's your final answer. If we're looking at this, let's take a look. I don't want to write all that out every single time. That is just way too much. How do I use what I had at the very beginning? How do I use that to get to this final answer? Well, if we distribute the exponent, so 2 to the 4th, that's 16. Perfect. What do we do with this 4 and 3 to get 12? Let's multiply. Cool. So we got to multiply. And then 4 to the 5, you're going to multiply. 4 times 5 is 20. And then 4 times 2 is 8. Perfect. So the rule is when you have an exponent to an exponent or power to power, we multiply exponents. So I say power to power, I'll say exponents to exponents. That's another way of saying it. Exponents to exponents. All right, let's take a look at what we got. So we have exponent squared. I'm going to distribute this since this is a monomial. You can only distribute across monomials. We didn't really talk about that. This is all just a monomial one term. So we're going to distribute the 2 to the 3. So it's going to be negative 3 squared. We're going to distribute to a to the 7th. It's going to be times 2. B squared times 2. And c, that's going to be the first power. So that's going to be c1 times 2. We got negative 3 squared is 9. 7 times 2 is 14. 2 times 2, 14. Why did I have 17? 14. 2 times 2 is 4. And 1 times 2 is 2. And there's your final answer. All right, number 2. Again, we have a monomial, one term. If you add or subtract, you can't distribute the exponent, but we can in this case. So it's going to be 1/2 to the 4th power. So it's 1/2 to the 4th. And then we have an exponent to an exponent. So that's x to the 5th to the 4th, which is times. We have y to the 1st. Not sure why I'm writing it this way. You don't have to write it this way, to the 4th. Z to the 3rd times 4. So let's see what we got here. We have, with a fraction, you are going to do 1 to the 4th, and then the denominator to the 4th. So the numerator, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, so that'll be 1/16. 5 times 4 with the exponent, x to the 20th. Y, 1 times 4 is 4, and 3 times 4 is 12. So you can write it like this. If you want to multiply this out and not have the 1/16 there, nothing else is in the denominator, so it would really be like rated over 1. So you'd have your numerator, 1 times x to the 20th is x to the 20th, y to the 4th, z to the 12th, over 16 times 1 is 16. I'll accept either one of those answers. Number 3. So we have a fraction with the exponents. This is very similar to what we just did with number 2 with the 1/2. We have a fraction, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up. I'm going to break up 2x to the 3rd, raise that to the 5th, over 3y to the 4th, and raise that to the 5th. Now I'm going to look at each individual numerator and denominator separately. So that numerator, what do we do with the to the 5th power? Well, we're going to have the 2 raised to the 5th, so this is going to distribute the 2. It's really times 1 is 5, and then 3 times 5 is 15. Over, let's do that same thing with the denominator. 5 times 1 is 5, so that's 3 to the 5th. 5 times 4 is 20. Now we got to simplify. 2 to the 5th power is 32, x to the 15th, over 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. I believe that's 343. That's y to the 20th. So looking at the next one, I'm actually thinking that might be wrong. $243. That should be 243, not 343. Sorry, 243. All right, number 4. Again, we have a monomial to the 3rd power. We're going to raise this. So it'll be a negative 4, put in parentheses, to the 1 times 3. We have a to the 6th times 3. B squared times 3. And c to the 1st times 3. So we have negative 4. 1 times 3 is 3. So negative 4 to the 3rd is negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. You can put that in your calculator if you do that. Make sure to put parentheses around the negative 4. If you don't put parentheses, a lot of times you're going to be wrong. So it's negative 64 6 times 3 with the exponents is 18, so it's 8 to the 18th. 2 times 3 is 6, and 1 times 3 is 3. And that will be it for today. Thanks for watching.